I got back from a weekend camping trip to find three massive, decades-old oak trees chopped into pieces across my lawn. A rented wood chipper was still buzzing on the sidewalk, and there was Lisa, standing in my yard, sipping a mimosa like she was at a garden party. No, this isn't some MOVYE plot. This is what happens when a self-righteous, fake HOA dictator picks the wrong neighborhood to mess with. Freeze frame. Yep, that's me, the guy whose private well Lisa illegally tapped into to water her over-the-top garden. What did I do? I flushed her system with sewage, and trust me, that was just the opening act. Let me back up a bit, because this story deserves some context. I live in what used to be a quiet, tucked-away mountain suburb, the kind of place where neighbors dropped off fruit baskets at Christmas and waved from their lawnmowers. 12 years ago, I bought this property and custom-built my house. The land came with a quirk, 3 towering oak trees smack in the middle. But that wasn't a downside. That's why I picked it. I'm a landscape architect, and those trees weren't just gorgeous. They were part of a federally protected conservation easement. I even gave them names in my head. Yeah, I'm that guy. Life was great until Lisa moved in next door. Lisa, real name Margaret, but she insists on Lisa, rolled in like a whirlwind in yoga pants and wedge sandals, blonde bob bouncing, proclaiming herself the guardian of property values and neighborhood vibes. Within a month, she'd roped 4 other bored busybodies into her scheme, whipped up some official-looking letterhead, and declared our street part of the Oak Ridge Improvement Association her fake HOA. No one signed up, no one voted, but that didn't stop Lisa from acting like she ran the place. It started small, a passive-aggressive note on my mailbox suggesting the Oaks could use a trim because the street felt a bit dim. Then came the flyers. Beautification boosts home valuelets, all pitch in, complete with a cheesy acorn logo. Cute, except for the subtle threats. Soon, she was doing friendly inspections, strolling the sidewalk, snapping pics of people's yards with her phone. One day, I caught her leaning over my fence, measuring my compost bin. When I asked what she was doing, she flashed a tight smile and said, "Just keeping the neighborhood harmonious." I ignored her at first, thinking she'd burn out if I didn't engage. Big mistake. A few weeks later, she showed up at my door with a homemade HOA citation claiming my trees were a visibility nuisance and might cause emotional distress to residents with claustrophobia. I told her, as nicely as I could, to get lost. She gave me a look, eyebrows up, lips pursed like I just insulted her patriotism. That's when I knew she'd double down. Here's the thing, those trees were untouchable. Years back, I'd enrolled the property in a rewilding program. A small spring runs near the hill's base, part of an old migratory bird corridor. The Oaks hosted 2 protected bird species and a squirrel population tracked by a university study. I had the paperwork, federal tags, and a laminated certificate. Touching them without permits was a felony. But Lisa? She thought legal documents were just fancy printouts. I filed a complaint with the county about her fake HOA, hoping it'd slow her down. Instead, she got craftier. Once, she sent her gardener into my yard to trim branches for safety. I caught him mid-ladder and sent him packing with some choice words. After that, I installed cameras, sensing this wasn't over. I was right. That camping weekend, just 2 days off-grid, I came home to a war zone. My trees, the giants I'd built my life around, were reduced to stumps. A contractor's truck sat on the road, sawdust everywhere, and Lisa lounged in my yard in a big hat and sunglasses, sipping her mimosa. "Doesn't the street feel brighter?" she said. I didn't yell. I just stood there, fist clenched, taking it in, the hacked trunks, the scattered branches, the ruined habitat. My birds were gone, the squirrels likely dead or fled. A university tag lay in the grass next to work gloves. It felt like losing a piece of myself. Lisa, still sipping, said, "I'll send you the invoice I had to pay for removal since you wouldn't cooperate." The nerve, she thought I'd pay her for destroying my protected trees. I walked past her, grabbed my protected habitat legal file from the safe, and started calling U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the state's forestry crimes unit, and my university contact tracking the squirrels. Back outside, Lisa was still lounging. I said, "Hope you kept receipts, you'll need them for Eve White Danke." Her smile faltered. The next day, I filed a federal complaint. My backyard camera had audio of her telling the contractors, "Just take them down, they'll thank me later." She didn't just cut trees, she committed a crime. But that was only half the story. Lisa had also tapped my private well to water her garden all summer illegally. When I flushed her system with sewage, that was my first counterstrike. More on that soon. First, let's see how the feds handle someone like Lisa going rogue on protected land. Spoiler, they don't mess around. I didn't sleep that night not out of rage, though I had plenty, but focus. I don't tantrum, I strategize. By morning, I had every document, photo, and timestamp ready. The audio was backed up 3 times. The Department of Forestry rep perked up when I gave the easement number, gasping at the photos. "We'll send an officer," she said. Fish and Wildlife remembered my land. The biologist I'd worked with was Leave YD when I confirmed the tagged oak was gone, a felony hit to a research site. Within 48 hours, agents in boots and field gear were on my property, measuring stumps, taking samples, and shaking their heads at Lisa's HOA flyers with her name plastered on them. Meanwhile, Lisa threw a tree freedom party with axe-shaped cupcakes and selfies by the wood chipper picks that landed in federal inboxes. I hired an ex-EPA lawyer who said, "This isn't just a fine, it's a reckoning." He sent a cease and desist to the HOA, hinting at personal liability. Lisa held a meeting, spinning me as a tree-obsessed grump, but her treasurer secretly recorded her admitting she'd fudged paperwork and hired the contractor solo. That tape, plus mine, sealed her fate. The forestry department sent her an investigation notice. The HOA got one too, and panic set in. The university pulled their squirrel study, triggering a state re-VYEW and a potential lawsuit over grant losses. Lisa tried a smear campaign online posts, radio rants claiming I'd faked EVY Denke. Then I caught her gardener hooking a hose to my well again. She'd been siphoning water for months. I didn't confront her. I called a sanitation buddy who owed me a favor. Her illegal line? I rerouted it to a gray water tank used for septic testing. Next time she watered, her garden reeked like a sewer. Her lavender wilted, her yoga crew bailed, and she couldn't prove I'd done a thing me valve was legal on my property. She raged at me, but I just sipped lemonade and said, "Stealing water's risky, Lisa." Then the feds hit. 2 agents served her a notice. Damages were pegged at due law $87,000, with her on the hook for due law $15,000 personally. The HOA ousted her, dissolved, and neighbors thanked me with banana bread and coffee cards. Lisa sued me for emotional distress, but my lawyer got it tossed, plus court fees. The restoration plan? 20 new trees, funded by her and the HOA, designed to block her VYEW. She tried a petition to rally support, but it flopped. Neighbors had had enough. The trees grew, the ecosystem healed, and a real HOA asked me to add VYSE them. Lisa faded into her house, her garden a sad, smelly mess. I built a tree house in a new oak, overlooking her yard. She wanted control. She lost it all. The forest came back stronger, and all she sees now is green.